All right. Good morning. If I'm not audible, just let me know
Good
at
morning.
any point of time. Can you hear me, see me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's begin today's session. Back and neck straight. Just gently close the eyes and start observing the breath. Watching the natural flow of the breath. And as you exhale, keep it aligned. And the mind remains focused. And whenever you feel ready, begin to deepen your breath and deep breaths. We'll be chanting Om followed by the Shanti mantra. Inhale deeply for Om. Om. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaः. Sarve santu niरामयाः. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschit dukhabhat bhavet. Ma kaschit dukhabhat. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Just feel the vibration. Join the palms together in front of the chest and rub the palms together. Place them on the eyes. And very slowly, while blinking and looking at the palms, open up your eyes, start coming back. Come back with a big smile. Okay, everyone. Let us begin today's class. So we are going to continue on what we were doing yesterday. So yesterday we discussed the practices for an advanced level student, and I had covered, the concept of abhyas or practice, right? And I told you the qualities that the practice should have. And now we are going to work on the second part, the second thing that Patanjali ji said, which is vairagya or detachment, right? So, when he talked of detachment, he talked of two types of detachment. One he considered to be a lower level of detachment, and one was the higher level of detachment, right? So whenever we talk of detachment, there is some letting go of the expectation that we are putting in when we do some work. So spiritual practices in general, they should never be timeline, right? So you will see most people, when they practice yoga, they do not understand what yoga is. They are practicing yoga, as a physical practice, right? Jumping and jumping around and, opening up the body like a gymnast, or like a monkey. A monkey can also jump around and do all of these things. So this is not why you are in yoga, to increase your flexibility, right? And even if you do the asana part correctly, you will move very, like, at a very fast pace in the other limbs. If you are able to, reach the point where your asana becomes stable and comfortable, right? But most people, they are running, in today's life, in today's world, they are mostly running after, uh, attaining body postures which are hard to do, right? And that is not the point. You could have gone to gymnastics class. You could have, gone to any other place where, your flexibility could be worked upon. And hence, placing a timeline on asanas is not something that you should do when you are practicing yoga, right? You can go to the gym to develop that body strength, right? But you have chosen this path. So you have to now, absorb the characteristics of this path, which is not placing a timeline, not expecting anything, just putting in the work, right? And when you adopt this attitude, you know uh, you will be easier on yourself. You will accept where you are, instead of, always having a forward vision where you want to be. Having that vision is also good, setting goals is good, but if it hampers who we are currently, or if it, you know uh, disconnects us from our current reality, then it is something to question, that is that goal setting even good enough for us? Is it serving the purpose that it should? Having a vision, having a goal is really good, but accepting right now your current reality is also very important, especially when you are walking on the path of you. So, being detached from the results of your practices is quite important when you practice yoga, and especially for a advanced level an advanced level student, because they have chosen their practice and they are already very deeply into their practice. So at that point of time, you reach these very subtle defilements of the mind, and attachment is one of them, right? So attachment, what it will do is, it will again and again, distract you from your main purpose. That is why attachment needs to be suspended after a particular point of time, and if you're able to do it from the beginning, that is amazing, right? So when one comes to detachment, Patanjali ji said there are two types of detachment. One is lower level, even his lower level is very high level for us. Okay, so but an advanced level student, when they are practicing, it is the lower level for the advanced level student.
Cannot hear you.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Okay. I hope you guys are able to hear me. If
Now,
not,
yes.
okay. Okay, I was talking of detachment and how for a beginner, it is just about being detached from the results of their practices. But for an advanced level student, it is forced. Naturally, as they practice, they reach the stage where they become free from the desires or the enjoyments of this world, right? So right now we are running after sense objects, we are running after certain things which our senses perceive to be really good for us. So we set aims and targets, and in order to go after those things or achieve those things. And once we do, after a while, when we achieve, uh, when the advanced level student begins to practice more and more, naturally this detachment comes up, where naturally now they are detached from all the enjoyments of the world, right? The physical world, it doesn't seem very attractive to them. So they gain more control also over their senses, because now the senses naturally, by the practice itself, now they do not find that. So you cannot force this, you cannot say that from tomorrow I am not going to eat this food, or I'm not going to go and you know uh, do this thing, read this book, right? If you like doing something or listen to this kind of music, if you like doing it, you cannot suppress it. Eventually it fades away. Eventually your attraction, the appeal of that thing, as you go deeper and deeper and explore and discover your own self, that is when that thing begins to, the charm of the sense objects, they begin to go away, right? So this you know comes with a lot of time and with a lot of practice, but this state of detachment is developed by an advanced level yoga practitioner, sorry. And eventually they naturally transcend into the higher level of detachment, where now they have experienced their true nature, right? So now there is no going back, right? Once you experience something which is very, like, gripping, right? Then there is no going back, then that thing becomes a part of your life, right? So in that same way, when the yoga student experiences the true nature of himself or at that point of time, the taste you a detachment from all the, even natural, uh, like the gunas also. So we talked of rajas, tamas and sattva, right? So these, when they dominate, certain characteristics come into us and we act accordingly. So at this stage, at the higher level of viragya, the student becomes free from their influence as well, because the student is able to experience the uh, source itself, their own source, and they are able to when you experience that thing, that is when you can actually see that your uh, body, your all other things are reacting, your mind is reacting, everything else is reacting, but the pure consciousness never reacts, right? So when you get in touch with that, then the reaction in itself ends, begins to end. So from this uh, detachment, there is no coming back, one can say, because once you experience that detachment, then it the sense objects, they will lose all the things around you, they will lose their grip on, right? So at that point of time, earlier in the lower form of viragya, maybe, something tempts you, illusion or maya we discussed when we were doing Gyan Yog. So when illusion or maya, something happens over there, it grips you back, it takes you back. But when you reach this form of detachment, then there is no going back. Then you will not be, pulled down. Your progress, it's like, playing a video game, right? And you have, in certain video games, you would have seen after a particular level, then you don't go back to the previous level. Suppose after 10 is that mark, right? So if you reach level 9 also, you will go back to 0 if you lose. But if you cross level 10, then ahead when you go, you will come back to 10. You won't go to 0 again, right? So it's something like that. You are crossing that line, you are crossing that level, and then there is no going back to any lower number than 10, right? So that form of Vairagya comes in. There's a very beautiful story around this, when Siddharth Gautam was, he attained enlightenment and he was teaching, right? So there was a king who got to know that, there is a very enlightened person around my kingdom, and I need to go to that person in order to attain that knowledge. So the king, he left everything behind. He understood that, he had this deep understanding that this person has something to offer which is worth attaining, right? So the king, he left everything behind, and from his kingdom till where Siddharth Gautam was staying, there was a very beautiful
Frozen. Yeah, I cannot see or hear either.
yeah. Okay. So where Buddha was, teaching, when he reached over there, he observed that he was still, dressed like a king, and he was wearing a lot of jewelry. So what he did was, he took off all the jewelry and he gave it to the person who was riding the chariot. And, that person was very poor. And, when he was giving the ornaments to him, he said that, you keep these and this will make your entire life, right? Right now you are working every day, earning every day to support, sustain yourself and your family. But if you have these, your life is going to become very easy, right? You will have not only wealth for your own, survival and the survival of your family, and this will support generations to come in your family, right? And at that point of time, the person who was riding the chariot, he had, who has the entire kingdom and who has rule over this entire kingdom, right? Not only just the wealth and everything else, he rules the people who are living on such a vast land. If this king is, eventually leaving everything behind and all the gold, all his wealth, to attain the knowledge that is given, is much more than the worth of his entire kingdom and his entire wealth. So at that point of time, he immediately, had this detachment from the worldly wealth, and he was just like that if the king is leaving everything behind, then the value of what he is going to learn is very high. It's so much higher than everything else that he owned, right? So at that point of time, he was just like, even I want to learn what Siddharth Gautam is teaching, because sometimes because of some good karmas that we do, this thing is triggered within us and it comes naturally. It wasn't like, he took this decision and after a while he regretted it and he said that it was better if I would have taken the wealth. No, it came very naturally from within, right? When he said no to the king and he went in to take that high level of knowledge to liberate himself from all the suffering, right? And that is the higher form of vairagya, right? Lower form will still, bring you back, but higher form, you will not find, taste in the worldly objects. Even Osho talks of this and says that, suffering is important, but where you go from there is your choice, right? So, and he also says that as long as somebody who is gaining pleasure out of the sense objects, like as long as that process is going on, that person will not come into spirituality. You will see that most people, who come into spirituality, they are somewhere feeling the need for something else, something more. They recognize that there are a lot of things and they will come and go, but they are looking for something else, something which has a little bit like permanence to it, right? So you will meet a lot of people and they will not be open to the path of spirituality. They will be like, this is not for me, right? Yoga is not for me. And because it is only because they are still, deriving that pleasure out of the sense world. The day, the suffering, lands on our life, right? That is when, we start looking for alternatives. We start looking for more permanent ways to be happy, right? And yoga is that path which will make you free. It will liberate you from all the suffering, not just one, two, or bodily, mental, emotional. It's going to work on all levels to liberate you, right? If you walk on the path, it's the beauty of the path. It's nothing else. It's like you are taking the route from one place to the other, so certain things are bound to come on you. So it is the beauty of the path to make you free from your impurity. As you walk ahead, you are going to reach over there, right? So next thing that we have to discuss now, we have discussed the practices of an advanced level student. And in the first chapter itself, Patanjali ji also discusses the obstacles on the path of yoga, which I will take a separate class on, right? So, but we are going to move ahead and go to the intermediate level student, what the intermediate level student can do. So again, intermediate level student also has already chosen what to do, right? But they are on their way, little bit behind the advanced level student, but on the way to reaching the advanced level practices. So if we come a little bit back, we're going to see that the practice again is already chosen, right? So now how are you going to do that practice, right? So Patanjali ji gave 10 steps, Yeah. PG gave for an intermediate level student. So tapas, 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 austerity, right? Swadhyay, which can also be understood as introspection. And Ishwar Pranidhan, which is surrender to God. So Swadhyay is SWADHAYA, and Ishwar Pranidhan is ISHWAR, Ishwar, and Pranidhan is PRANIDHANA, Ishwar Pranidhan, right? So then so the advanced intermediate level student again already chosen whichever path they have to work on, and then what they do is they are going to add these three qualities to whatever they are doing, right? So first one is your tapas or austerity, right? So this this word tap, TAPA, means heat, right? So one way of understanding tap is practicing so much that the body, there is a catharsis in the body that is taking place, right? So when we practice properly, it is then that we see that when we deeply practice something, that is when we see that austerity part coming in, where we are going into a very deep practice, right? And austerity in a very general term can also be understood as when you see yogis, you will see that they have they do not eat for days at end and go into very extreme practice. So we are not talking of that when we are discussing tap, right? Tap is something which is a way to I can say it's a way of practicing where you go very deep, but again it's not extremism, right? So if you go into extremes, you are only going to harm yourself. Why? Because see, your body does need food. It might need very less food to survive. That is possible. But it is the reality of the body that food is required. If you do not eat after a while, you are bound to, your physical body is bound to get very weak. You can see this, like if somebody doesn't eat for even if you don't eat for 1 or 2 days, you will see that the body, you start feeling very weak, and you don't know, like you don't feel like doing anything. The mind becomes very lethargic. So in that same way, right, austerity doesn't mean that you go to extreme, but it is a way for you to enhance your practice, because you are developing mental will when you go into the practice of tap, right? Now you are pushing your limits, right? So you're not going into extreme, but then you're not into the in your comfort zone as well. So now you are, each and every time you are going beyond your comfort zone in order to increase your practice, but that doesn't mean that you are going to harm your body, right? There is a very fine line between both the things, right? So pushing your practice further ahead is something that you can incorporate, right? So intermediate level student knows their capability and knows, because of so much practice, also knows that what is too much for them, right? So just not crossing that line where it becomes extreme, being in a place where you are crossing your comfort zone but you can still do it. So this develops the power of the mind, right? So for us, like for example, what we can do in our day to day life. So now a lot of us know that fasting is very good for us, right? But most of us do not fast. I'm just taking a hypothetical example, right? Most of us, we don't fast, right? So what you can start doing is you can start doing 1 day fast out of the 7 days in a week. You can start introducing 1 day fast. When you fast for 1 day, you can keep it in such a way where you are, only consuming fruits, or you are, consuming maybe juice, or there are certain foods that you can eat during fasting period as well. So when you fast for that 1 day, you can avoid basically salt, right? And eat sweet things mostly, right? So in that way you can uh, start fasting for 1 day in a week, and you will see that first time when you fast it's going to be very difficult for you, right? But as you go deeper and deeper, as you fast every week, your body will get used to it. So on the first day, it's going to be a lot of mental challenge for you. On the second week, maybe again a mental challenge for you. But eventually, you will see that your body will adapt, right? So you can begin by doing little things in your routine, which are going to, not take you into extreme, but they're going to change your life in little bit manner, right? Which is healthy for you, and this will also help you to develop will. So now when on the day that you fast, everybody will talk of food, right? Or at least the mind has the tendency to pick up every talk, like, or every talk is going to be directed around food, and your mind will be like, tomorrow, I will eat this, I will eat everything tomorrow, right? So initially, your mind is going to pick up on the thing that you are not allowed to do, but eventually you will gain control over these things, and you will see that now you are able to navigate much more easily, right? When the mind is going to tempt you to do something, right? Maybe 1 day, your mind just tempts you to, not wake up. It's such a good morning and you just want to sleep a little bit more. So when you start making other changes, you will see that your ability to show up on the mat also increases. Your ability to fight that, inner dullness or inner lethargy will also, increase as you work on this stuff, right? So for us, we can always start by something little and see the impact that it is having on us overall, right? Second practice for us is swadhyay or introspection. So this is quite important, right? So introspection, or reflection, right? Or self study also. This can also be translated as self study. So one thing is reflecting on everything that is being taught to you, right? Be it your philosophy class, your meditation, any of at you can implement these things in your life and does, and it helps them to eliminate patterns within themselves which are not serving them. So sometimes we are too familiar, or we are too habitual, you know when we do certain things. It's a habit, and it is so hard to break a habit, right? Isn't it? It's so difficult to break a habit. We know it's not good for us, but still we are not able to break that loop, the loop that is formed again and again. You repeat that thing and it gets stronger, right? For us, every day when you repeat something, it gets stronger, right? So that same thing, but it doesn't mean that whatever you are doing is necessarily the best for you, right? So that is where introspection comes in. When you introspect, when you check on your actions when you think of your actions, right? Reflect upon your actions or whatever you have done throughout the day. It will help you to, change whatever, you want to change, right? And see how you can not repeat the same mistakes, right? So most of the times, because we do not reflect, we end up repeating the same thing over and over again, right? And after a while, we have this sense or this feeling in life that everything is going in circles, and it is because we never took out the time to, learn from our own mistakes, right? So reflection, really helps the student to reach a stage where they can eliminate those patterns which are not good for them and inculcate the patterns which are good for them, right? So they can simultaneously also start working on things that are good for them. How can they do that? Introspection, or as I told you, self study, this also includes the practice of reading the scriptures and reading books that are circled around things that are good for us, right? Or in yoga, when you come, circled around the recognition of the ultimate reality, the recognition of the uh, true reality of who we are, right? So when you read books which are around what you want to be like, right? And if you are ready to read spiritual books, it's going to not only change your the food that the mind gets. So food for the mind is everything that the senses acquire and all the thought, right? So when we have the uh, our thoughts come mostly from whatever we perceive and whatever we read. So when you are engaging the senses in something which is connected to the higher reality, then you will see your thoughts, everything begins to change. You change your own environment by feeding something else to yourself, right? If you watch a lot of negative videos, right, you will see this thing. When COVID came, a lot of people, they were watching a lot of news, and every day, checking the number of cases, every day checking, if the vaccine being developed, what is happening in my area. And that only increased their fear, because the way in which media presented also everything, headlines are meant to catch your attention. So I'm not saying that it wasn't true, but then that was the food you were giving to yourself. So a lot of people were into immense, they got really deeply affected, and they're facing a lot of immense fear within them. People getting tensed over little things that started happening, and just the paranoia of even catching COVID was there. You are sitting down, but people got so paranoid about it because they were constantly reading about what are the developments in the world, what is happening around my area, So we all got panicked because of the food that we were giving to ourselves. And at the same time, if we just remained factual and directed the rest of the energy towards something else which was more productive, right? So those people, those people were not very very impacted. Of course, everybody's life got impacted. Lockdowns, this was the first time, a lot of things happened for the first time. When we see the situation of COVID, in many years, a lot of things that happened during this time was the first time they were happening, right? For most countries. So it was just about how somebody managed, and management of that thing just had to do with whatever we were feeding ourselves, right? And if you didn't read the news or didn't read the headlines or weren't in touch with it, even then, people around you, right? So everybody, if in your house you were like pretty chill about it and you were pretty disconnected, people around you, they were going so, obsessing so much about it. So everything around you, contributed to that thing. But yes, cutting yourself off uh, is something from that kind of energy and directing it towards another sort kind of energy would help you immensely. right? So right now, like you guys are sitting at home doing this online course. So right now you could have chosen to, do XYZ thing. But your energy is directed over here. You are attending the live classes, you are watching the pre-recorded videos, reading your manual. So all of your energy is going towards that. So, you will see certain things they're just like, okay, they are there, right? So in that way, introspection really helps you to, direct your life, and this becomes your entire life, the way in which you, whatever food you give to your mind, you will see that is the direction that the, life also takes, right? And the last practice for intermediate level student is surrender, right? Surrendering to God, right? So God, I will not discuss much on this because see, God is different for everyone. But when in yoga, God is, whatever that you believe in, right? And it is belief system. It is actually connected to your own belief system, right? And which is above you. So you can believe in something which does not serve you, but then it is belief, right? And when you put that belief and you surrender, right? That is when, immediately the work on the ego starts happening, right? So right now, if I'm constantly thinking, I'm the one doing this in my life, I'm the one doing that in my life, I will cause my own self a lot of suffering because of this thought pattern. So having a sense of surrender, it can be anything, not necessarily God, but it can be anything. Having a sense of surrender will always serve you. You will see this. It is always going to serve you because it's going to, counteract that ego that is within you, which, mostly, stops us from even sometimes doing the right thing. It's our ego which comes in between, right? So immediately work starts happening on the ego when you go into a sense of surrender, right? And you will also see that for an intermediate level student, already a lot of faith in yoga has been established for that person, because that person has been practicing for a while and has advanced. So even, seeing oneself as God like qualities within you, this thing also helps you, in order to accept yourself more, right? So we are full of defilements right now, but like I told you, deep within, right, we are one, and we are coming from one and the same entity, which is very pure, right? And that is why, sometimes when you meditate and you are actually able to meditate, not concentrate but meditate, and you get in touch with that, um, with your own self, you feel so peaceful. Just getting in touch with your own breath, with your own body, with, the way in which you feel, it makes you so relaxed, peaceful and calm. Why is this happening? Because you are actually connected to yourself, right? And these things as you progress on the any doubts in any of this, like whatever we have discussed today. Tomorrow we will start with, Ashtang Yoga, the practice for a beginner level student, starting from the first limb and reaching till the eighth limb, which is your final goal. Any doubts?
No, no. All clear.
All right, great. Okay. So next class is cancelled. I hope you saw the announcement on the group.
Yes, got that. Thanks.
Right? Yeah, Katrina, you were saying something?
Yes, I got that
Sorry?
message. I got that message.
Okay, okay, great. So therapy and meditation for today are cancelled, right? So
Yeah.
in our session for today, there are no doubts.
No, no.
Okay. So back in neck straight, gently close the eye and start observing your breath. You chant Om one followed by three shantis. Inhale deeply for Om. Namaste to everyone. I will see all of you at 3 in your pranayam class. Om Shanti. Yeah. Om Shanti. Bye bye.
Om Shanti. Bye-bye.